Hello and welcome to the IR Global podcast. IR Global is the largest international professional services network. I'm your host of the IR digital podcast, Jennifer Riggins. Our podcast is all about emerging trends and things that help you do your job better wherever you are in the world, which is why we're going to dive into a name that strikes fear into Luddites everywhere today, blockchain. What is it? And then most notably, how you can leverage it to help your business prosper more quickly. So today we are talking to Diego Benz, who is a lawyer and a notary based in Zurich. He's specialized in consulting and notarizing in the areas of corporate inheritance and contract law. And recently, he's found a way to expedite the arduous process of registering a new business in Switzerland, down from weeks of tediousness to simply hours, which is very exciting. And that's all, of course, as you could guess, since that's the theme, leveraging blockchain. So, Diego, how are you doing today?
Doing fine. Hope you too. Thank you.
Very good. Why don't you start by telling me about yourself, Diego, your day job, and your passions and experiences around blockchain? As a lawyer, those aren't words that are linked together much. So please do tell.
Yes, it is. I think it will increase. So yes, first of all, I am very much blockchain enthusiast. I'm a member of Disruption Disciplines. This is a global movement that promotes critical exchange of ideas, knowledge, also based on blockchain, not only and digitalization. I'm a lawyer notary, as you already mentioned, for many years. My daily job is, I would say, amongst others, assisting clients mainly in the field of corporate and commercial law and doing quite a lot of notarizations for them. And I've just learned, that blockchain, well, I would even say blockchain already disrupted the field of law, and this will go on. And so it's very fascinating, and I want to be a part of it.
How has blockchain disrupted law? That's interesting. I had no idea.
It facilitates a lot of processes. It helps you drafting contracts. It speeds up certain processes, and it helps to leverage certain procedures, just to tear down a bit of bureaucracy and all these things, And yes, I think it already happened, for example, with respect to insurance law, there are certain products running with blockchain. You do not need lawyers now. That's automatically done by smart contract, but I think we'll maybe talk to that on that topic a bit later.
Oh, that's fascinating. I just had no idea that you look at law as a very brick and mortar suit and tie type of business. So that's fascinating. So I think what we're mainly talking about today is a very stressed and risky part of starting your own business, which is then also taken on heavier because of bureaucracy, which can be a big pain when you're trying to start your business. So what is the normal stress to register a company in Switzerland? Tell us about what is the normal way, and then we'll talk about how blockchain is a solution.
Yes, gladly. I think the main pain points are mainly that it takes 10 days or even more to incorporate a company in Switzerland. This is a very bad ranking looking internationally from the WEF Global Competitive Report. So we are not very strong there. We have excellent business. We have super innovation, but we rank, I think, 56 or something with respect to the incorporation procedure, which is very bad. It's still a very much paper-based process with media discontinuities between the parties, which is a real pain, and costly legal verification of every single aspect of, circa 30 up to 40 pages legal documents, and it's, I have to say here that in Switzerland, a founder must contribute assets in order to incorporate the company, for example, cash or contribution in kind, and that can be painful sometimes.
And expensive, especially when you're already having the risk of maybe leaving your day job or running a side business and then having to invest significant amounts of your own money ahead. And you invest that into the company itself, into a bank account. How does that work?
Yes, exactly. For example, you as an entrepreneur would like to incorporate a company. You must have at least 20,000 or 50,000 in cash, depending on the structure you want. Then you usually go to your attorney, please draw up the documents, please help me finding a bank account, or already have a bank. You go to the bank, you have to fill in so many nightmareful forms, and the bank then hopefully will give you a kind of blocked account where you could deposit the money. The bank will then issue a confirmation that goes to the attorney or directly to the notary, confirming that the money is on the blocked account and will be released once the company is duly registered. So this then, of course, will be then burning capital. You can use it then later on. The notary then notarizes the founders meeting, let's put it like this, and then sends the application to the commercial register. The commercial register double checks. The commercial register still has to fill in their own forms. You know, they cannot just copy paste. They just have to type in everything. Then it goes to the federal commercial register, and once they have approved, it goes back, and then we get the confirmation that the company is registered.
I gotta say, it's so surprising since so many companies in the world are registered in Switzerland and it's looked at as the forefront of certain sectors, that it's surprising how arduous and, may I say, expensive it is to start a business. So first, I guess we should talk about what is blockchain, and then talk about how you found a way for it to ease what sounds like not a fun process to start a business in Switzerland. So what is blockchain?
That's a good question. And I would say there are certainly different definitions depending on who you ask, you know. However, let me describe it in a bit different way. I would differ between blockchain and distributed ledger technology. I would start with distributed ledger. This is kind of a database that is spread across several, they are called nodes or computing devices, and each such node replicates and saves an identical copy of the ledger. So each participant node of the network, it's kind of network, updates itself independently. That's very important. And in case the distributed ledger technology is fully decentralized, the ledger is not maintained by any central authority. That means that updates to the ledger are independently constructed and recorded by each node. And then that's interesting, the nodes then vote on these updates to ensure that the majority agrees with the conclusion reached. And this voting, you may think there is someone sitting there. I mean, there's not someone pushing yes or no. This voting, rather, an agreement on one copy of the ledger is called consensus and is conducted automatically by a consensus algorithm. So it's a program doing that for you. And once consensus has been reached, the distributed ledger updates itself, and the latest agreed upon version of the ledger is saved on each node separately. So that's distributed ledger technology in a nutshell. I know it's a bit very summarized, but okay. And then the blockchain is, in my opinion, a form of distributed ledger technology, since not all distributed ledgers employ a chain of blocks to provide a secure and valid distributed consensus. Data on the blockchain is grouped together and organized in blocks. That's where the block is coming from. And the blocks are then linked to one another, that's the chain, and secured using cryptography. Thus, in very rudimental, one could say that a blockchain is a shared immutable ledger that facilitates the process of recording transactions and tracking assets in the business network, usually peer-to-peer. And I mean, virtually anything of value can be tracked and traded on the blockchain network, reducing risk and cutting costs for all involved, I would say. Yeah.
So cutting costs and cutting time, it definitely sounds like it. How is it secure? Is it legal in Switzerland? Is it legal anywhere in the world?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, you can do certain things with the help of blockchain, which can be legally binding. However, the blockchain is not a contract between the parties. It needs a certain agreement between the parties, and then for the execution or the adoption of the process, you then require blockchain technology.
Thank you for explaining it. It's definitely a complicated topic, and I write about tech every day. And no one's ever said those are the blocks before, so that was definitely helpful to clarify it for everyone. So how is blockchain then applied as a solution to the arduous process of setting up a business in Switzerland?
Yes, what we tried is we said, okay, we need the whole process some kind digitalized, and we want to have an ecosystem in it, not that each party or participant will be looked at separately, but all together. We think it's kind of ecosystem, all the parties involved. I told you just some minutes ago. So meaning the entrepreneur, the attorney, the bank, the notary, even the auditor and the commercial register, they are part kind of a network. So we think, or we created some kind of a workflow engine where no programming knowledge is needed. We have automated user interface. We have automated documents generated. And, it's like you're on a platform, and there you have a front end, and that enables you only to fill in the data once and not several times, because now I have to fill in names so many times, and there are so many typos, and all the existing programs are rubbish, but this kind of technology is really a painkiller. Plus, we have consistent checks running, saying whether, hey, there is something wrong in the capital, or that purpose does not fit, or there's something missing in you have not filled in birth date, or I don't know, whatever. And also very interesting is that each partner of the platform sees the latest changes, meaning you also can, you would be notified once something is changed. This is a push information, and then you can go and just pull that information down from the system.
So based on the images you had provided, since we are in radio form right now, I just wanted to describe the two images that you had sent me before, because I think it helps understand the logic behind it. And of course, we can all imagine the little details that we miss when filling out paperwork, which makes our tax returns delayed or other painful issues. So you had sent me an image that has originally, in the current system, an entrepreneur sending money through an attorney to a bank, and then the bank then sends it to the notary, then the commercial register, and then it goes back through. So the bank is kind of acting as the middle person. But in the new process, everything's going into through this blockchain algorithm and this what looks like an app, I guess, interface for people, a simple user face that everyone is involved in, everyone is equal, where everyone has common view of it, instead of waiting while all of this information is in silos. Would that be correct? Or
exactly, that hits the nail. In the first picture I sent you, it's not only money sending, it's a lot of paperwork sending back and forth, and that's painful. And the new system is rather a network where everyone participates via this platform. You as a notary, you get access, but only to the data you require to fulfill your function within that platform. So I don't see the bank account details. I don't see, any kind of information that's not required for the notary. Same for the bank. The bank only sees that kind or that amount of information bank requires, but they don't see other information.
So all the information's there, everyone puts it in, so nothing is missing, but then only the people only see, or entities only see, what is necessary for them to see. So it does sound more secure as well, logically speaking. So why blockchain for this? What made you pursue this? Is blockchain the only solution that could do this, or would just API integration work, or why blockchain?
Yes, of course. That's a very good question. Of course, you could handle this platform differently. Why we decided to go for blockchain is immutable, a trustworthy history compared to an easily manipulated traditional database. That's one point. we're also talking about cybersecurity. Traditional databases are hacked on a daily basis. You know that, you know? In contrast, the decentralized blockchains have never been hacked. So if you hear that I don't know, a cryptocurrency provider was hacked, it was not the blockchain, but rather where their data was. And I would say a blockchain is hosted by multiple computers spread all over the world or over several partners, and consequently a blockchain solution is much more resilient compared to a traditional database.
So when you say it's all over the world, is that okay for banking institutions, or does it matter for that? Because I know servers law does come in, like where data is being held on which server and which location. So is that factor in here or no?
No, the bank would, of course, you know, not in the blockchain is not stored what the bank knows, or the information the bank has is not in the blockchain. It's just the transaction goes over the blockchain and is then kind of a hash on the blockchain, you know, and a block has very, very limited space. You know, you do not have pictures in a block of a blockchain. You don't have that. It just would go too big, you know. So when you're talking about decentralized, yes, indeed, we decided here to go a bit to a different kind of blockchain. It's not a fully decentralized, because we cannot rely on, I don't know, 8,000 nodes like Ethereum or 30,000 nodes of Bitcoin spread all over the world who's running the blockchain. So we'd rather decided we have kind of a private blockchain solution, which is then not decentralized, but with certain trustworthy partners. For example, the commercial register or all the commercial register. In Switzerland, that would be 26. I don't know, in the States, this is maybe 50, or I don't know. So we have several partners there, and then you cannot manipulate it, you know.
Who else is partnering with you? So you said you're partnering with the commercial registrar, but this
yes.
is private, right? Who else?
Good question.
Yeah.
I really have to mention these guys, because since I know this all is based on the private initiative. This is not paid by the state or the government. So we have, let's start with the IT and blockchain side. There we have IBM. We have Block Factory. Block Factory is doing the smart contract and interface. And then we have a company called DV Burn. That's the interface supplier between the commercial registers and the federal register. We have on Lawyer Notary side, we have a notary from Grunder, Rechtsanwälte lawyers. We have Philipp Kaiser from Kaiser Automaten Partners and myself from Zwicky Windlin Partner. We have the commercial register of the canton of Zug. So this is a pilot running only with our specific small canton, not all over Switzerland yet. And of course, we need a bank. And we were pitching many banks, and they were just a bit afraid, thinking, oh no, blockchain, we don't know, it's a bit scary. But in the end, we found one bank. It's called Vermögenszentrum. We set a bank in Zug also.
It totally
yes, the aim is to have more partners on board in the future. Yeah.
It totally makes sense that a smaller bank or a bank, that bank would choose to be the first one to do it, because then they're offering an added benefit to their clients, who then can register businesses much more quickly. And it makes sense that lawyers and notaries would want to leverage this, because it makes their work more efficient without probably charging any less. So that's great. It just is a very logical thing for security, because it expedites processes, but also increases levels of security or steps that would have to be taken by a hacker. So it totally makes sense. Yeah. So from my understanding, this is not your day job at all. So this is just a completely side unpaid passion project for you, right?
Yes, that passion is linked to my future being as a notary, because I believe that blockchain and all this technology disrupt this kind of work we do today, and can easily, scalize it, so we will have much more fun of it. because now it's, as I said, even doing incorporation, it's a nightmare, always filling in those names and the purpose 3 times and this form 10 times. And with that kind of technology, you can do it only once. And then the blockchain even helps you to make it more secure. You can communicate within a network, like with partners, which makes everything, the ways shorter, everything makes it's faster, and it should be cheaper than in the end. Yes, of course.
Okay, and as you found,
I really need this technology, because otherwise it drives me crazy,
I guess it saves you a lot of time and frustration when you're missing, there's information and data missing all the time or inaccurate, but also
yes,
it enables
exactly.
you to work from anywhere as a business.
Exactly, and as I said, there are these checks run by this technology saying, Diego, there is something wrong. You said the capital is 100K, and you say there are 1,000 shares, but you're saying one share is 200. There is something missing, Please double check, things like that, which you just do not see when you're working in a Word document or in whatever document. You may don't see this, And then it's a bit painful when you send something to the commercial register and they're sending it back to you saying, there is a mistake. So this also helps you to identify these kind of things.
Okay. And how did you, in the end, because not to say you're just notary, but you are notary, not someone in the tech or the finance space specifically, how did you find your partners for this project? What is this project even called? I realized I missed that somewhere along the line.
Nowadays we call it, amongst our consortium, we call it the Drakensberg project, because we created a company called Drakensberg. Well, I will come to that. This actually happened following a bad place with respect to Digital Switzerland competition. Digital Switzerland is a huge digital institution in Switzerland trying to improve digitalization in Switzerland. And I think IBM was one of the starting partners, and very fast the commercial register of the canton Zug was involved, and they contacted us notaries and further partners thereafter. This started actually, I think it was Q1 in 2017, so 2 years ago, was followed by, I would say, a design thinking workshop and setting up the core team in 2017, and we had actually our proof of concept by the successful incorporation of this Drakensberg AG. It's an LTD, a limited, on 9th April 2018. And the funny thing is, you may wonder, where is his name coming from? We had this competition, we were standing there, and we said, okay, dear jury, you now can start the process. Give us a name for the company, and we will start from scratch, incorporating live. You can follow everything in front of them. They had no name, okay? So we had 4 names ready for them to choose, and this Drakensberg, there's a Drakensberg in South Africa with 1K. We just put another K in, and this was only a placeholder, because we had so fancy names, but they just have chosen the Drakensberg, and that's how we came that the company was called Drakensberg. So we started the process there 1 year ago. We had the identification call with the bank. The money was transferred. This was then sent all to the notary. The notary did the incorporation. The commercial register confirmed it, and below 2 hours we had this Drakensberg Ltd incorporated and duly registered in the commercial register.
That's definitely eating your own dog food and going through the whole process. And I think you share what a lot of startups have, and we see on the Silicon Valley TV show, What Do You Name a Company? Especially with URLs nowadays, that's so hard. So explain more about the private blockchain side, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners may have legal or notary backgrounds or both, but they may not have a tech background. So how does this private blockchain work versus public? And I think you're with the open source Linux Foundation, Hyperledger, right?
Yes, that's correct. This is Hyperledger, which is used by our partner IBM. You know, the Hyperledger blockchain technology we use in our project is open source. That's correct. It's from Linux Foundation. This is also correct. Yes, it's a private and permissioned blockchain, meaning with restricted access and strong digital identities, which is very helpful, in contrast to a public and unpermissioned blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum, for example. So you may ask, why then do you use a private blockchain? You know, this Hyperledger, because, you know, we say that the commercial register have a legal obligation to run and control the network. We cannot just spread it all over the world. The commercial register contains a relatively large amount of data, so we have their storage costs, and we are not relying on mining, you know, because the other decentralized blockchain, you may know, like Bitcoin or Ethereum, the proof of work there is always done by mining. So some miners have to solve a puzzle, and then they are entitled to have the next block added to the blockchain, and we do not need that. So we are also not so expensive with respect to energy costs.
Oh, that's nice to hear, because you do hear about Bitcoin, especially in Ethereum, being poor for the environment. So that's great to hear. Also, it just sounds like you would otherwise be making it a board game or a video game.
No mining. We have no mining, which makes it much more less energy consumption. Yeah.
So how does this apply to other countries, or is it just Switzerland?
That's a very good question, though. I mean, incorporation documents are not identically across the world. I know that, and however, with smart contracts and blockchain, I think this certainly can be leveraged.
Is it something you see other countries repeating? Is it something you have a vision that you're going to take your company to other countries to do this, or you're looking for the next step in Switzerland? What is your end goal? Do you want more partners, more banks?
I think, first of all, well, I can say, for example, Estonia is very, very much involved there. They have their system very much digitized, you know. So yes, so of course we as Swissies, we always look a bit across our borders, seeing what do have others, how can we use that. We do not have to invent everything from scratch, of course, but it must fit to the Swiss system. I think that makes us a bit successful. I mean, yes, I think for the moment, you know, we are still in the pilot phase. We're doing incorporations with the help of the platform. I mean, real incorporations, but we still need, you know, paperwork. And that, first of all, has to be changed from the state, and they are now doing this. So this is ongoing. We aim at the moment that we want to have, it is a small number, I know, but we want to have 100 incorporations for 2019. This number may seem little, but you know, we have to start from somewhere. And we want to board more partners. We need more banks. We need more commercial registers. Here in Switzerland, we may even need more notaries, you know, because 10 notaries can provide much more incorporations than only 2 or 3. That's certain. Yeah. And I think once that is happening, then yes, maybe then we are attractive for other countries. They are wondering how are you doing that, you know? Because I think we are the first project having all these partners or all these institutions combined in one ecosystem. Usually programs or solutions only pitch one of the partners, a bank or the entrepreneur or the commercial register, you know, and we say, no, all together, you know, that should be the aim, you know. So, yeah.
So are there any legal barriers to the adoption of this tech? It definitely seems compelling from a use case standpoint of how much quicker and more accurate and potentially secure the signups are.
Yes, at the moment we have them. So we have some legal barriers. You know, we want to have it fully digitized. That we cannot do yet. I do not have a digital notary stamp, for example. I still have to stamp on paper, you know? That's
Oh,
a bit
I was
weird.
thinking that. Yeah, because I was thinking that's what I identify as a notary, as someone that stamps and signs.
Yeah, it's not a seal like in the medieval ages, you know. It's still no, it's a good stamp, you know. Of course, we can stamp a lot, but you know that should be digitized, you know,
Yeah,
and
that
also
being
with the signatures, you know.
yeah, well, of course, electronic signature is legal in the EU and most countries, so I can see the signature. How would you make the stamp digitized, with biometric or what?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, you also can have digitized signatures in Switzerland. So I would stamp the document and then scan in and put my digital signature on it. Then it's all good. But with the stamp, of course, we need certain regulations from the state saying what must be in the stamp digital signature. The stamp would be kind of digital signature containing certain information, making sure this kind of stamp is coming from a notary who is entitled to stamp, and the stamp still is valid, you know, and so on, like for a digital signature. I don't think that's very difficult. The difficulty lies more in we have 26 states here in Switzerland. We call them cantons, and every canton has its own notary law,
Oh, wow.
its own notary system, and you know that yeah, that takes a bit of time, you know. But everyone really has realized now that you know that has to be digital and not sitting there stamping paper. Although I love paper, that's okay. But you know, it's a nightmare actually.
Of course, yeah. And if you're in a big city, it's one thing, but if you're in the suburbs or the countryside, to find a notary must be much harder. So as we're winding down, where else do you see any other opportunities for blockchain outside of registering a business?
Yes, I see. For example, what in Switzerland was successfully tried out and run was public voting in elections.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
We have two cantons. We have the canton of Zug, where I'm sitting, Greater Area of Zurich, and the canton of Schaffhausen, who did electronic voting successfully. I mean, what also will be then interesting, for example, if you incorporate a company, that you get your dividend and voting rights in electronic shares. So that's you can also do with smart contracts and blockchain technology. Actually administer the whole company, you know, or at least a part of it. I think so. Insurance and healthcare businesses is already jumped on that train. For example, Maersk and you know the the Hafen of Hamburg, you know the port of Hamburg, or Nestle and Carrefour and other partners for tracking food with blockchain technology, supply chain management, and so on. I think there are several different use cases. Yes.
So it sounds like a good fit for anything that's heavily regulated, deals with borders, deals with different regulation and security, and of course is very bureaucratic and detail oriented. It sounds like a good fit for that. But you don't need to know anything about blockchain to take advantage of blockchain, right?
Exactly. That's a good thing.
Well, I just have one more question for you I have to ask, because aren't you kind of risking your job, because couldn't a computer perform a notarization?
You mean like, will this get rid of jobs, you know?
Yeah, would it not get rid of your job eventually?
I mean, I would, no, I do not fear it. I would rather say it certainly will shift jobs. You know, how, like in any industrial revolution, new and more jobs will be created. And the computer performing notarization, that's interesting, you know. You would have to have a program where you have to, first of all, you have to fill in the data. The smart contract is not collecting the data outside. You have to bring the data to the smart contract, and then it's executing. Then it's just doing what is programmed. You know, actually, that's why it's not very smart, you know. It's actually a wrong name, and it's also not a contract, you know. It's rather a program. And I mean, if you will program it in a way when everything is fulfilled and green light, and if I mean, yes, maybe then a program can say, so everything is on green light. Everything is good. The company is incorporated. I mean, why not? You know. Hopefully, still I will be required to have that thing programmed with my notary's input. But that's a good question. Never thought about.
No, that's interesting.
Then I will do other things. You know.
Yeah, I just thought you might be working yourself out of a job, but that's okay. We might actually
But this is really a good question. I like it.
Thank you so very much, Diego, for taking the time to explain a bit about blockchain, though it's still baffling to some of us, but that's the whole point, that it makes our lives easier and it makes processes easier, so we don't have to know about blockchain. So that's okay. It's Fight Club rules. That's totally fine. I have
to thank you.
Yeah, and of course we have to thank our listeners when this goes up, so thank you very much. To learn more about IR Digital and its services, please visit irglobal.com. And if you found this episode useful, please consider sharing it and liking it on our SoundCloud. So Diego, if the listeners want to contact you for further information about this, or to maybe even become a partner or get involved in your very overwhelming side project, it sounds like exciting, how do they do that?
Yes, they certainly will find me on LinkedIn. You just put in Diego Benz, and I think then we will find me, or you go on our homepage from zwplaw.ch, and you will find me there. Okay.
And I'm just going to read your email again out, d.benz@zwplaw.ch, just in case people need it. And of course, you can find Diego Benz on IR Global, on our website, and on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, Diego, and thank you to our listeners. Have a great day, and good luck with your blockchain adventures.